His Excellency, with your permission, may we begin. Thank you. His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan and the Chair of Economic Cluster, Dr. James Waniga, Honorable Minister of Finance and Planning, Daniel Ayulo, Minister of East African Affairs, Honorable Pierre Major, First Under Secretary for Finance, Honorable Manuel Tap Diu, the First Deputy Governor for Bank of South Sudan, Honorable Tom Akeliden, the acting chair of the Board of Directors of South Sudan Procurement PPDA, Honorable Ayi Bolakol, the Executive Director of PPDA South Sudan, Jan Dame Daniel, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Mal Makethion. I will be the MC of today, and I also work as the Deputy Director of Communication and Media in the Ministry of Finance, and with my co-MC, the tallest lady, you can see. She's not taller than me. First and foremost, you are all welcome to the Republic of South Sudan. I hope you had a wonderful night last evening. Yaliyoka well, karibuni nyumbani, tunawakaribisha sana, and we feel proud that East Africa community members are also here in South Sudan. Thank you for coming. Let me give my colleague a chance also to introduce herself and say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ali Chairman. I'll be emceeing this event. Dear guests, dear distinguished guests, Excellencies, procurement leaders, development partners, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to South Sudan, the world's youngest nation and the youngest in East Africa. We stand at a defining moment, like you saw in the document in your hand, but this defining moment or journey is shaped by the conversation that we are going to have, like many other conversations. So as a young country that is catching up with everyone in East Africa, a nation that is at a promise of opportunities for everyone in the future, what do you have to tell us? How was the process for you developing your institutions? How was it like growing as a country? So these are the conversations we are going to have. I will give you back to the guys.
Yes, before we go into the conversations, I would like to call Mama Nora to come and give us a word of prayers. Then our conversation will begin. So Mama Nora, karibu.
Together, let us pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our loving Father, we would like to thank you this morning for bringing us together from East African country and us, your children. We thank you greatly for giving us safe travel from our country. May you then bless all of us, our families, and this conference. May it be successful. May it yield good resolutions which will help African country and especially this country, the Republic of South Sudan. We ask you to give us safe, good environment so that we interact, we know each other, we share our experiences and our knowledge. We ask all this through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Thank you, Mama Nora. So, Honorable Nora, you are very welcome.
Your Excellency Dr. James Waniiga, Vice President of the Republic and the Chair of Economic Cluster. Honorable Paul Daniel Ayulo, our Minister of Finance and Planning. Honorable General Pienden Majuk, Minister of East African Affairs. Honorable Tom Akech, our First Deputy Governor and the Acting Governor of Bank of South Sudan. Honorable Ayi Bol, the Acting Chairman of PPDAA. Honorable Ajande Daniel, the Acting Executive Director of PPDA. Heads of procurement from the East African region, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It's a great pleasure and an honor on behalf of the Minister of Finance and Planning, Republic of South Sudan, to welcome all of you to Juba, our national capital, for the 17th East African Procurement Forum. We are delighted to host this important regional gathering that brings together leaders, professionals, development partners, and institutions committed to strengthening public procurement systems and advancing good governance across the East African community. Public procurement remains one of the most important pillars of public finance management and economic governance in our region. Across the East African community, effective procurement systems are essential for ensuring value for money, promoting fair competition, enhancing service delivery, and building public confidence in government institutions. For South Sudan case, the establishment of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority represents a critical milestone in our public financial management reform agenda. A critical and well-functioning procurement regulatory framework is indispensable to improving fiscal discipline, enhancing transparency in the use of public resources, reducing inefficiencies, and promoting accountability across government institutions. The Minister of Finance and Planning recognizes the central role of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority in advancing these reforms. In this regard, I wish to reaffirm the Ministry's full support for the authority and its mandate. Under the leadership of Honorable Paul Daniel Ayulo, The ministry remains firmly committed to supporting initiatives that strengthen public procurement systems, institutional capacity, compliance mechanisms, and regional cooperation in line with the international best practices and East African community standards. This forum, therefore, provides an important platform for experience sharing, peer learning, and collective reflection on how we can build more resilient, transparent, and efficient procurement system that responds to the aspirations of our citizens and the development priorities of our countries in the eastern part of Africa. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you once again to Juba, our national capital, and wish you fruitful deliberations and a successful forum. May God bless you all. May God bless the Republic of South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tabdiu, for this wonderful introduction to the participant. Thank you very much. Right now, without wasting more time, I would like to call upon the Executive Director, the Acting Executive Director, for his remarks. Mr. Jan Ben Daniel. You're welcome.
His Excellency Dr. General James Waniga, Vice President of the Republic and Chair of Economic Cluster, Honorable Kwal Daniel Yulo, Minister for Finance and Planning, Honorable General Pierre Deng Kwal, Minister of East Africa Affairs, Honorable Malwa Tabdiu, First Undersecretary of Finance, Honorable Yi Bolakol, the Acting Chairperson of Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Board of Directors, Honorable Tom Ake Deng, the First Deputy Director, the First Governor of Central Bank of South Sudan, and the Acting Governor of the bank and our host today. Heads of regulatory authorities from East Africa regions, development partners, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great honor and privilege on behalf of management and the staff of Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority to welcome you all to Juba for the 17th East Africa Procurement Forum. We are deeply honored to host you on this important regional gathering for the first time in South Sudan. Your Excellency, allow me to express my sincere gratitude for your presence today, your leadership and continual support of public financial management reform, provide necessary directions and engagement for institutions like ours to deliver our mandate. Distinguished delegates, I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to our guests from across the East Africa regions and beyond. Your participation reflects the strengthening of regional cooperation and a shared commitment to improve public financial and procurement system. Ladies and gentlemen, East Africa Procurement Forum continues to be an important platform for learning, collaborations, and exchange of experience among the countries. As the host institutions, our role has been ensure that this forum is well organized and provide enabling environment and meaningful dialogue and engagement. Over the first week, our technical committee and its chairperson of committees working closely with the event organizer and have made an effort to ensure all logistic and technical programmatic arrangements are in place. We are confident that the facility of the program, coordination and mechanism will support a productive and engagement discussion throughout the forum. Your Excellency, this year's theme is to enhance beneficial ownership, disclosure in public procurement system. Presents an opportunity for all of us to reflect on the practical ways to strengthening transparency and accountability in procurement. As implementing institutions, we look forward to learn from experience of other countries and share our own progress and challenge in advancing procurement reform in the Republic of South Sudan. Distinguished participants, we encourage all delegates to actively participate in the session, share insights, and contribute development of actionable resolutions that will guide our work beyond this forum. The success of this forum will not only be measured by discussions we hold, but by implementation of resolutions we agreed upon. On behalf of the PPDA Secretariat, I am thankful to the competent Minister of Finance, who is our supervisor, and his team, Honorable First Undersecretary, for the support they have done to the PPDA to enable this event take place. I wish to affirm our commitment supporting the outcome of this forum and working with all the stakeholders to strengthen procurement in South Sudan across the region. Your Excellency, with this few remarks, I once again welcome you all, our distinguished guests, to South Sudan. I thank you.
Thank you very much, the Acting Executive Director for PPDA Authority, Mr. Jahangir Daniel. Right now we'll have a bit of entertainment before we continue, and I would like to call upon the Choli Dance Group to come and entertain our guests for a few minutes before we continue.
Honorable Tamakin Day, the first Deputy Governor of South Sudan, Bank of South Sudan, Honorable Distinguished Head of Procurement Regulatory Authorities, esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of PPDA, I warmly welcome you to this forum and thank you for joining us today in South Sudan, Juba. We are grateful for your leadership in strengthening institutions that promote accountability and service delivery. Since its establishment in February 2023, the PPDA board has focused on building a solid foundation for procurement reform. Key milestones include operationalizing the regulatory framework to be highlighted, few challenges to be highlighted, particularly in sustainability, compliance, and institutional capacity. In this regard, we acknowledge with appreciation the support of the World Bank through the project, through the Public Financial Management Institution Strengthening Project and the African Development Bank for supporting the design of of the PPDA headquarters. The theme of this forum, dear delegates, is reinforcing the importance of transparency in ownership structure as safeguards against misuse of public resources. As a board, we remain committed to providing strategic leadership to ensure procurement system deliver value and integrity. I wish you all a fruitful celebration. Thank you very much.
Right now, let me call the first Deputy Governor and the Acting Governor of Bank of South Sudan, Honorable Kamakelian. You are highly welcome as the host. You are welcome to come and give your remarks.
Honorable Professor James Waniga, Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Dr. Secretary, Minister of East Africa, Honorable my General Pierre De Kwong, Under Secretaries, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Bank of South Sudan and on my behalf, I would like to recognize your coming to South Sudan, and particularly the Bank of South Sudan, who is now hosting in this very beautiful conference hall. We are very grateful and thankful for your coming, visiting us, and the theme of this, enhancing financial ownership disclosure in the procurement process, is a key in every institution. As the Bank of South Sudan, we have been following all along in whatever business that we are conducting. So we are very privileged to welcome you in the Bank of South Sudan. As you can see, our landscape of the building. We wish you to feel free, move around. The only thing is that the security is very paramount to us here. So whenever step that you are taken, make sure the cameras, CCTV, are around every corner. So this is the message always we used to pass on, so that everybody is very careful about that. With these few words, we are really very honored, all of us, bank, all entire staff and workers of the Bank of South Sudan, to welcome you again. And for our brothers in East Africa, Tributa Sana, we are very grateful, and this is a very beautiful morning. Habari Sebui. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for your kind remarks. Right now, I would like to call upon Honorable Pierre Major to come and give his remarks, and being also the Minister of East African Affairs, to come and welcome his members. So you're welcome, General.
Comrade James Wani Iga, the Vice President and the Chairperson of Economic Cluster, all protocol observed, delegates, I greet you in my own behalf. Good morning. In fact, I don't have much to say, only to welcome you as members of East Africa community, and I would like to correct what the Master of Ceremony said. South Sudan is not the youngest member of East Africa. I'm sure we have two behind us. We have DRC and we have Somalia. So South Sudan is number six in the community. And almost we have in this map, we are missing one member here, which is Somalia. And for sure, East Africa is 8 members. We are 8. Anyhow, this forum is a very important forum, and I'm sure South Sudan is going to benefit from it very much. Procurement system in any country is a paramount for public management or for public financial management. And I'm sure it's one of the things that is really worrying us a lot in South Sudan. And I want my colleague here, the Minister of Finance, to take it very serious, because leakages are in procurement. A lot of leakages in South Sudan here is coming from procurement. So I hope this forum will educate our people very much and will really benefit us. And I want to advise my colleague, the Minister of Finance, to take the authority seriously and to delegate the authority to do its work. Please don't tie the hand of the authority. Otherwise, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pierre Major, for your wonderful remarks. I hope we will learn from East African country members that have dealt with procurement for a long time, so that we will be able to do our things in the right manner. Right now, I would like to call upon Honorable Minister of Finance and Planning, Honorable Paul Daniel Ayulo, and congratulations for your appointment. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. With your permission, Your Excellency, I salute you and greet my people here. His Excellency Dr. James Waniga, Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan and Chairperson of Economic Cluster, Honorable Pian Denkwal, the Minister of East African Community Affairs, Honorable Mabatab Dio, the First Under Secretary, Minister of Finance and Planning, Honorable A. Bolakol, the Acting Chairperson of Board of Directors of PPDAA, Honorable Tamaki, the First Deputy Governor of South Sudan, the Executive Director of PPDA, Jan Daniel, distinguished head of delegations from East African community, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. For the interest of time, I will not have much to say, Your Excellency, but I would just want to give a recommendation that you will consider during your deliberations in the next 4 days. Out of our core values of integrity, accountability, transparency, teamwork, professionalism, we have some issues that concern us in finance in regard to procurement. Procurement is linked to so many things in our life and in our operations in government institutions. And that is the reason why we are here today. We have a challenge, and the challenge is related to identifications of our needs. We have a challenge which is linked to money value. And on top of those, as a growing state, as a growing country, we also have a challenge of money laundering, which is linked to procurement. Most of African communities buy as they see, and that always affects our operations. We have to think, plan, and identify what we need and prepare to buy it. But not seeing my colleague Malal or my colleague Dominic wearing something good and I choose to buy it immediately. It's a big challenge and we have to address it. We have the challenge when we talk of money value. It's not that we should choose what is cheaper and buy it, but we must be guided by the principles of quality and quantity that meets the need. Even if it is expensive, it should be something durable. It should be something that satisfies our needs. If you see from Mombasa to Uganda to South Sudan and the rest of this African community, the state, we have a lot of imports. And most of them are not guided by our procurement principles. We go to China, we go to Japan, we go to UAE, and we buy things that are not regulated by our procurement laws. In South Sudan, we have not yet established a limit which year of manufacture can we limit ourselves to buy that particular equipment. Example, buying vehicles. Can we still buy those vehicles from 1990s? But there are times when our culture dictates, saying long time ago, such a model was a very good one, with a strong car, which still remains as a dream car up to today. Meanwhile, it has become an obsolete, has no spare parts, has no good use, has no good suspension. But our mind are still stick to it. We need experts from the region to take us through those steps, so that we join you in the process, so that we remain controlling our budget, so that we don't end buying this year and next year on the same items. When it comes to money laundering, it is not printing money alone, but buying cheap things and deliver them to our country in order to exchange it and get clean money is also part of money laundering. And our procurement procedures, and this is where I will be in support to PPDA to ensure that we have to stick to quality than quantity. Everything which is cheaper does not last long, and we will have lost our resources. With those few, we still have enough time when we come in and throw in a contribution until the time we end. Otherwise, you are all welcome and have a good stay in the Republic of South Sudan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Colonel Yulo, for your wonderful remarks and welcoming of our guests. Right now, we will go to the next statement, and that is presentation of certificates to the sponsors, and that will be done by the guest of honor, His Excellency Professor Waniga. So, let me call the Acting Executive Director to come quickly with those certificates.
Island Spice, please, representative of Island Spice. Next is YDK Company. Next is M Group Limited, please. Next is Trinity Group Limited. We have E-Services, please come forward. We have Capital Pay Company. Capital Pay. We have no representative of Capital Pay. Capital Pay is here. These are okay. Next is Anthony Taylor. Anthony. Then Gonda Limited. Gonda Company Limited. No representative of Gonda, right? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much to His Excellency. And congratulations to those who have received the certificates. Right now, before we embark to the final speech, I would like to call another group of dancers, and that is Panaru, to come quickly. Distinguished from here, I would like to call Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Colonel Oyulo, to come and invite the guests of honor.
Honorable Piang Deng Kwal, Minister of East African Community Affairs, distinguished members of gathering here, I would like you to join me in welcoming His Excellency Dr. James Wanega, the Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan, and the Chairperson of Economic Cluster. Your Excellency, may I call you to deliver a word to your people.
Please have a seat. Honorable Minister of Finance and Planning, Paul Daniel. Honorable Minister of East African Affairs, General Pieng Deng, the First Deputy Under Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Manuel Tap, the First Deputy of the Governor of the Bank of South Sudan, distinguished heads of the East African community delegates, distinguished partners, esteemed participants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my greetings, warm greetings to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. I bring to you also a special greetings from my President, His Excellency General Salva Kiir Mayardit, who is currently abroad. I congratulate the members of South Sudan Public Procurement Disposal of Assets Authority for successful organization of this 17th forum. Mabruk alaikum ya. Allow me also to congratulate all the delegates who have journeyed from outside South Sudan, and thank you for the efforts to come all the way up to Juba. Marhaba. It gives me pleasure and honor to warmly welcome you all to Juba for the 17th East African Procurement Forum. Your presence here reflects our shared regional commitment to strengthening public institutions, promoting accountability, and advancing good governance across Africa as a whole. Public procurement remains at the heart of government service delivery. It is through procurement system that national priorities are transformed into tangible services. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of South Sudan, the Republic of South Sudan, remains firmly committed to bring a procurement system that is transparent, accountable, efficient, and credible. We recognize that strong procurement institutions are essential for fighting corruption and ensuring value for money and promoting confidence among all citizens, investors, and development partners. In this regard, I commend the Public Procurement and Disposal Assets Authority for the important progress in a short time it has made in laying the institutional legal foundations of a modern procurement system in our country. These efforts demonstrate our collective determination to strengthen governance and uphold integrity in public financial management. The government will continue to support procurement reform reforms through the full implementation of the legal and regulatory framework, strengthen compliance mechanisms, enhance institutional capacity and effective oversight. The sustainability of these reforms is vital for achieving our national development aspirations of our people, and ensuring responsible stewardship of public resources. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the theme of enhancing beneficial ownership disclosure that we have today is both timely and highly significant also. Transparency in beneficial ownership is critical in safeguarding public resources, preventing conflicts of interest, combating corruption, and promoting fair and open competition, not hidden competition, in public procurement processes. As East African nations continue to deepen regional integration and economic cooperation, collaboration among our institutions become increasingly important. Many of the challenges we face are shared across borders and therefore require collective solutions, exchange of best practices, and coordinated action. I encourage all participants during this forum to engage in constructive dialogue, share practical experiences, and develop actionable recommendations that can strengthen procurement systems throughout our region. I wish you fruitful deliberations and successful exercise of this forum. With these remarks, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct honor and privilege to officially declare the 17th East African Procurement Forum open. Congratulations.
I would like to call Peter Biar. Peter Biar to come and present the status of implementation of the recommendation. Okay, so I invite the chairperson. Let me invite the chair of TPRA Tanzania, Mr. Godfrey Mbanyi. You are highly welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. It's already afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, present or recap the last minutes of the 16th East African Procurement Forum. And I would like to recognize the presence of Honorable Ye, who is the chair of the Board of Directors for Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority, South Sudan. Like I introduced, I'm a procurement specialist with 17 years experience at the university. Been working with the Ministry of Defense. Besides that, I'm also an active military officer. I'm a graduate of grade 2 in Uganda. So I have a lot to share with the forum, and especially the field of procurement. To be precise, the document is quite long, but I'll try to cut across and make it summarized. Introduction. The 16th East African Procurement Forum was held in Arusha, United Republic of Tanzania, from 9th to 12th of September 2024. The forum brought together public procurement regulatory authorities, policymakers, practitioners, development partners, and stakeholders from East African community to deliberate on emerging procurement reforms, regional integration, transparency, professionalism, sustainable procurement, and digital transformation of public procurement systems across the region. The forum adopted 8 key resolutions aimed at strengthening public procurement system across the East African community. Okay, thank you. This report summarizes the implementation status of the resolution by selected East African community partner states, including Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, and Burundi. As a country with an emerging public procurement system, South Sudan has not yet fully implemented most of the resolutions adopted during the 16th forum, except preparations of this sitting today. An arrangement towards the hosting of the East African community in Juba. Nevertheless, significant efforts have been made to strengthen procurement institutional structures, operationalization of public procurement and disposal of assets authority, establish procurement committees and procurement units, and undertake capacity building for procurement stakeholders. Rwanda did not submit an implementation report at the time of preparation of this report. However, Rwanda will be accorded an opportunity to present updates during the preliminary discussions during the forum. The summary of the implementation status. Ethics, integrity, and professionalism in public procurement as number 1. Resolution. Member states put in place codes of ethics through respective regulatory bodies for proper enforcement of ethics, integrity, accountability, professionalism in public procurement across the region. The status of the implementation. In Tanzania, implementation started with the Code of Ethics and Conduct for Public Officers and Tenderers engaging in public procurement 2021. The code requires public officials and tenderers participating in procurement proceedings to declare compliance with ethical standards and code of conduct requirements. In Uganda, it continues to strengthen professionalism and ethical compliance through implementation of procurement laws, oversight systems, and regulatory compliance mechanism under the PPDA framework. In Kenya, it has operationalized a code of conduct, code of ethics for persons participating in the procurement system through the PPRA. The Kenya Institute of Supplies Management has also issued a binding professional code of conduct. In addition, Kenya enacted the Conflict of Interest Act 2025 to strengthen ethical compliance. In Burundi, some progress has been made in strengthening procurement professionalism through memoranda of understanding signed between ARMP, Burundi, and academic institutions like ENA, BIU, and some universities. Observation. East African community partner states continue strengthening ethical and professional standards within procurement systems, although harmonization across the region remains crucial. Number 2, promotion of East African community tenderers and local farms. Resolution. The regulatory body is to institutionalize legal provisions for promoting East African community tenderers to compete domestically, regionally, and internationally. This has been happening in South Sudan, especially where I practice public procurement in Ministry of Defense. We had companies from Tanzania, from Uganda, from Kenya, dominating our bulk procurement. So I think South Sudan is doing that already. The status of implementation. In Tanzania, the Public Procurement Act 2023 and Public Procurement Regulations 2024 provide for preferential treatment of the local farms, reservation schemes for local farms, allocation of procurement opportunities to special groups, capacity building reservation for local farms, and mandatory joint ventures or subcontracting arrangements for foreign farms in high value procurement. In Uganda issued reservation guidelines recognizing East African community providers and enabling firms from East African community partner states to participate in procurement opportunities. In Kenya strengthened local preference provisions under the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act and initiated amendments aimed at further strengthening local farms. In Burundi, some reports indicate progress in provision promoting East African community tenderers already exists with its public procurement framework and are being strengthened through ongoing legal reforms. What are the observations? Member states continue to strengthen legal frameworks aimed at increasing participation of local and regional firms in public procurement. Number 3, institutionalization of East African Procurement Forum within the East African Community Secretariat. What is the resolution? Prepare a framework for institutionalization of the East African Procurement Forum within the East African Community Secretariat. Status of the implementation. Tanzania initiated engagement with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation to facilitate operationalization of the East African Procurement Forum within the East African Community Secretariat. In Uganda, engagement with the Ministry of East African Community Affairs is taking place with the intention of having the East African Procurement Forum adopted within this calendar. In Kenya, PPRA, Kenya continued engagement with the Ministry responsible for East African Community Affairs and recommended preparation of a joint memorandum for submission to the East African Community Secretariat. In Burundi, continue to participate in regional consultations and discussions relating to the institutionalization of the East African Procurement Forum within the EAC framework. Observation: there is a growing regional support for institutionalization of the East African Procurement Forum within the East African Community Secretariat framework. Beneficial ownership disclosure, which is our theme of today. Resolution: regulatory bodies to enforce implementation, monitoring and reporting of inclusion of beneficial ownership information within the procurement process. In Tanzania, beneficial ownership requirements were incorporated within the Public Procurement Regulations 2024 and linked to the Compliance Act and other related legislation. In Uganda, the revised standard bidding documents to include beneficial ownership, procurement forms, and initiated digitalization and reporting of beneficial ownership information. In Kenya, continued implementation and monitoring of beneficial ownership. Disclosure through the Public Procurement Information Portal. In Burundi, reported that the ongoing revision of the Public Procurement Act seeks to make beneficial ownership disclosure mandatory within public procurement. This is more of South Sudan, where legalizations are being revised and amended to include the most important aspects of public procurement. Observation, beneficial ownership disclosure continue to emerge as a key transparency and anti-corruption reform area within public procurement system across the East African community. Number 5, which is sustainable public procurement. Resolution member states continue to develop sustainable public procurement implementation action plans, capacity strategies, and approaches based on the marked practices across the region. Status of the implementation. In Tanzania, PPRA Tanzania conducted the benchmarking mission in the Republic of Korea and subsequent deployment of 5-year sustainable public procurement implementation plan. In Uganda, it amended its PPDA Act to incorporate environmental, social health and safety considerations and revised standard bidding documents to include sustainability provisions. In Kenya, developed a sustainable public procurement and assets disposal framework and action plan currently awaiting cabinet approval. Still in Kenya. In Burundi, reported that sustainable public procurement provisions are being incorporated within the revised Public Procurement Act and standard documents. Observation, sustainable public procurement reforms continue gaining momentum across the region, although implementation capacity remains a challenge. Number 6, electronic government procurement system. Resolution. Each member states to fast-track development and implementation of e-government procurement system with consultation for special groups. As of the implementation, Tanzania takes the leads in e-system, comprising several procurement modules, including e-registration, e-tendering, e-contract management, and e-payment. In Uganda, progressively roll out e-government to government entities and continuous expanding system coverage and provider registration. In Kenya, official rollout its EGP system in July 2025 through a phased on-board approach. In Burundi, ongoing development and implementation of an EGP systems with contribution for special groups. What is the observation? The region continues to make significant progress in digitization of procurement systems. Number 7, e-waste management and supply chains. Resolution. The regulatory bodies to ensure strategies are in place to address e-waste in supply chains across the East African community region. Observation. Management of e-waste is increasingly receiving policy attention across the region. Number 8, hosting of the 17th East African Procurement Forum, which is happening now. The only resolution that South Sudan has so far accomplished. Nevertheless, the 17th East African Community Forum will be hosted in Juba. It has been hosted already, awaiting the finalization. Status of the implementation. South Sudan was caused to host the forum, which has taken place. Preparations are underway. I think this is all not. Yeah, we're preparing for this. So it's not actually important. Okay. Observation. Of course, we have a lot to learn from this. Then now, East African community partner states have made notable progress in implementing the resolutions of the 16th East African Procurement Forum. Beneficial ownership disclosure, sustainable public procurement, and EGP implementation remain key reform priorities. Procurement, digitization, and transparency initiatives continue improving across the region. Number 4, institutionalization of the East African Procurement Forum within the East African community. Secretariat remains an important regional priority. Capacity building and harmonization of procurement systems remain essential for strengthening regional integration. What are the recommendations, the way forward? The East African Community Partner States should continue strengthening collaboration and sharing of procurement reform experiences. South Sudan, Burundi, maybe DRC, Congo. Somalia has a lot to learn from our sister countries of Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. Here, member states should accelerate implementation of the efficient ownership disclosure system and verification mechanisms. Investment in EGP systems, interoperability, cybersecurity, and capacity building should be strengthened. The regulatory authorities should continue harmonization of procurement reforms across the region. Joint framework for institutionalization of the East African Procurement Forum within the East African Community Secretariat should be finalized and submitted for adoption. In conclusion, the implementation status of the resolutions adopted during the 16th East African Procurement Forum demonstrates continued commitment by East African Community Partner States towards strengthening transparency, accountability, professionalism, sustainability, and regional integration in public procurement. Although implementation levels vary across among partner states, significant progress has been recorded in strengthening procurement legal frameworks, digitization, beneficial ownership disclosure, sustainable procurement, and institutional reforms across the region. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Peter, for your well-summarized presentation. You know, we are not moving alone as a region, apart from having different member states, but also we should also look at how the world itself is moving. So we need to go to within the same pace. So he started with the first resolution on ethics. Anybody with microphones to remove, please, ushers. We need to see hands so that people can contribute. We have heard what we have done so far on the issue of ethics, which we all of us agree is the most challenging to deal with these issues. Sometimes you can think that you are dealing with a small fish, but when you start tackling it, you can find yourself in trouble. So it is a very challenging matter. I know, and I'm living within it. I know how tough it is. Sometimes you can be someone, Mr. Peter, for what you think he misbehaved. He misbehaved in handling of a certain tender. But instead of coming Peter, there comes Mr. Dr. Linga, who is the boss of Peter. Now you fail to understand, whom did I summon? I don't have a mandate to summon the CEO. My only mandate is limited to them. I am involved in unethical practices in public procurement. For sure, without uprooting this, we cannot move smoothly. So we must get at least some experiences, well explained or elaborated experiences from different member states.
Thank you very much, Chair, Mr. Godfrey, Benson, Turamie, PPDA, Uganda. I want first of all to appreciate the PPDA South Sudan for compiling and presenting these resolutions that came from different countries. We appreciate. However, I have, I think as regarded Chair, we are going to respond per resolution. Is that how I should proceed? Because I had a number of comments on different areas. Right? On ethical conduct. I wanted just to add that in Uganda, first of all, if you are involved in public procurement, we have a code of conduct that you must carry, ethical code of conduct that you must carry. If you have a conflict of interest, you also declare before you and you don't participate. What we are lacking is what the chairs talked about, professionalizing a legal professional body. That one we have been having some struggle, having it passed through Parliament, because you need a statutory instrument, you need an act of Parliament. But we have a bill which is currently at first Parliamentary Council, and hopefully soon we'll reach the level of Tanzania and I think Kenya in terms of the conduct of our professionals in Uganda. But we have an institute called Institute of Public Procurement of Uganda, as much as that has been there in Uganda for the last 18 years. But it doesn't have a legal body, a legal muscle, especially to discipline the professionals, what we call professionals in public procurement. Maybe one day we reach the level of Tanzania and Kenya. But I want to urge the other sister countries, maybe that is the way to go. If we are to regulate the professionals in public procurement, then we must have legal instrument approved by Parliament. That's all I can say, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benson. I hope you have all heard what our colleagues are doing. They are doing more or less like what we have in Tanzania. Professionals Registration Board is it is backed by its own law. So it is by Act of Parliament, and the operationalization regulations, the members' registration criteria and guidelines, which are also gazetted under the government gazette with the GN numbers. All of these instruments do assist us in handling professionals' matters in collaboration with the other authorities. A colleague from Rwanda?
Jean-Baptiste from PPRA Burundi.
Oh, yeah, Burundi.
Under the responsibility of our Director General, I just want to add something on ethics on Burundi. On the presentation of the implementation of the resolutions, they not mention that Burundi has already developed the code of ethics in procurement field, and that code of ethics has been approved by the Ministerial Cabinet and has been planned for Ministerial Council for examination. So that's what I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our colleague from Burundi, for your addition. Any other?
Thank you, Chairperson. I need to first state that Rwanda did not submit because of a few changes that happened in the leadership of RPPA. You all remember that we had the DG Joyeuse, who is no longer the DG. It was changed and the new one could not manage to submit all the requirements accordingly. The implementation status is not delivered, but it's not submitted, but we still have a significant progress on each and every point, every resolution there. And I will request that, though we did not submit officially, but we are far ahead in terms of implementing those resolutions. So specifically, let me talk about the Code of Ethics. In 2015, we had a law that established the Association of Procurement Professionals of Rwanda. In 2023, we found it quite impressive that we professionalize. Instead of having an institution for all those practicing, let's go professional. So we established an Institute of Procurement Professionals of Rwanda. So the name association was replaced by the institute, and it was done by the Act of Parliament. It was officially gazetted last year, July 15th, and it has the following mandate. One is certifying all those practitioners. We all know procurement is a very complex exercise. You find people practicing, some have raw background, others have engineering background, medicine, depending on what you procure. So we found it quite impressive that everybody involved should be certified. We also found that we need to do the registrations. All practicing persons should be under the tutelage of that institute. And thirdly is the discipline, ensuring the discipline of the members. So I happen to be the chairperson of that institute. So we know how hectic it is to handle procurement matters. Some are quite hidden, others okay, you can deal with them, you know how difficult it can be. But in terms of code of ethics, it's one of the key tools we have that helps us manage their behavior, the behaviors of practitioners. To start with, every member must sign a code of ethics and we file it with the institute. 2, we need to handle every complaint submitted against each member and have a disciplinary committee that handles that one. And whenever we find anybody capable of anything, is completely penalized in terms of the professional standards as agreed. I think we need to do a formal submission. How far have we gone as far as implementing the code of ethics? But a significant progress has been done. I think on this one, the minister stated like that. We did not submit, but we have significant progress in terms of implementation.
That is what I believed. I know Rwanda moves fast. I think we have all heard what our colleagues have done so far, for sure. And when it comes to e-systems, Rwanda is a place you can learn. That is for sure. It goes without saying. And it is the truth. Yeah. And if we have done with that, we can move now to another resolution, which was on the protecting local firms. Is that? I think when Frida in Tanzania, we have done good on that. Is that true? Please, a mic to my sister there. A microphone to my sister.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Frida Sama from BBRI Tanzania. In terms of capacitating our local firms individuals in Tanzania, we have done a lot, starting with the legal framework. We have a good legal framework with a good number of provisions protecting the local firms and the local individuals. We have a variety of preference schemes, as you saw in the presentation. The national preference, we have the capacity building set-aside schemes, we have the exclusive preference for our local companies and individuals, but also we have done a lot on the special groups. And of course, during this forum, we will have a presentation on the local procurement reporters, so you will receive much from our presentation. And of course, because we have the EGP system in place, the system also helps us very much in implementing the preferences scheme in Tanzania. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dada Winnie, for your clarification. There is a hand.
My name is Hanzubadia from Uganda. Mine will come in more like a question, if you don't mind. The Republic of Tanzania, about the local content that has been implemented. They are more using of the word local providers. So I would want to understand the definition of the local providers, whether they are meaning the companies in Tanzania, registered in Tanzania by the Tanzanians, because I want to give a reference as far as Uganda is concerned. When we are doing the preservation schemes, the definition for local is a company registered within the East African community. East African community. We are looking at the East African community. That's what we call local in Uganda. And the ones we are looking at Ugandans, we call them national providers. We have those two terms, national providers and the local providers. So they are using the word local. So are those Tanzanian providers or they are East African providers that even when you're registered from Southern Sudan, you can as well go and compete in Tanzania and you're termed and you qualify as far as those reservation schemes are concerned. So that's a clarification I wanted.
Okay,
thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Delegate, for your good question. Looking on our procurement law, it's true that we are using the word local. We are referring a local firm, and the definition by the Procurement Act and its regulation, when you talk of a local firm, here we are looking like three criteria. First of all is the registration of the company. The company has to be registered in Tanzania, but we are looking on the ownership and the shareholding structure of the company. Our law recognizes that in order for a company to be a local firm, then the majority of the shareholding, the majority of the shares has to be owned by the citizens of Tanzania. Majority means that at least not less than 51% shares of the company has to be owned by the citizens of Tanzania. So there is that the shareholding structure and the registration that the company also has to be registered in Tanzania. But when you come on the implementation of the preference scheme, here we have some variations. For the national preference, we go with the majority shareholding structure, which is 51%. But when you talk of the exclusive preference, because we have a different set of preference schemes, for the exclusive preference, it means here we are looking for the companies which are wholly owned by the Tanzanians. But in case it is a joint venture, then for the joint venture of the companies to qualify for the exclusive preference, then the shareholding structure of the Tanzanians has to be equal or not less than 75%. That's when they can qualify for the exclusive preference scheme. So when you talk of the local, we are talking of the companies registered in Tanzania. We haven't gone further to the East African region companies, and I think here is the area where maybe this forum to see the need of having a harmonization across the East African countries. Thank you, Chair.
Without even prolonging this issue, that is an area of improvement. We should just straight away put it that way. And even in some of the debates back home, we have started confusing which is which. But with the integration mindset, I think with a mindset of integration, the Ugandan move should be the way. How can an East African be a foreigner within a fellow member state? For example, previously at our professional board, you know, when you apply for practicing procurement Tanzania, we don't register only Tanzanians, okay? We register Tanzanians and non-Tanzanians. So there is a fee to be paid during the application process. Previously, Tanzanians only had their own rate, and the rest, ignoring even the regional issues, were termed as foreigners. But nowadays, if you go to universities, application fees, they state Tanzanians and East African members should be paid this. So we are paid equally. So even at the board, if you come to register for practicing, if all the requirements are eligible, make you eligible for registration, you cannot pay more than that being paid by Tanzanians. So I think it is an area for improvement. We will put it in the resolution thereafter, to write it very correctly, to be submitted to the EAC Secretariat, for that matter, so that we can harmonize. Of recent, we were in Kampala. I was invited because I head the professional board where we do conduct certification examinations. So there was a meeting on the harmonization of curricula. So the professional boards were invited, and it was officially opened by His Excellency, the General, who will be swearing in tomorrow. Is it? Yes. Yeah, he's my friend, the General. So he came himself, and because the issues at hand were related with education. So he came with the Minister for Education. You know what I mean. So if curriculum are being harmonized, I hope everything later will be harmonized. Who knows? Maybe one day we will have only one East African public procurement law. That will happen. And that will be very comfortable because we are now working under the same market, one block. So let us just take that.
I'm Benson from Uganda. Our president, if we want to really organize or get conflicted with him, then put policies or laws that are going to discriminate against the East Africa. And that's why we are very careful when we are coming up with those policies to do with the local content and reservations and preference, that we must take care of East African community members. And true, we should really harmonize, because you are getting a lot of business in Uganda, but you are still discriminating against Ugandans, which is very unfair in that way. But maybe I should add that the other policies that we should emphasize, which we have already started in Uganda, is how do we take care of the special interest groups under these reservation policies. In Uganda, we have done that, special interest group meaning youth, women, and persons with disabilities. They have a special share from the public procurement budget from every government entity. 15% of that budget is reserved for them. And as a regulator, we have developed a database. We have trained these special interests, especially the youth. If we don't take care of the youth in this region, then we have trouble. What is misguided most times? They are educated, they don't have jobs, So we want to make sure that they get a share of the cake from the procurement budget.
Thank you. I hope on that we have said 30%. 30% of procurement volume in Tanzania is set for special groups, youth, women, and people with disabilities. And the groups are registered under the PPRA, and even during preparation of annual procurement plans, you indicate this type of tender will be sourced through special groups arrangements. So it's the 30% of the budget. Yes, our colleague.
I didn't want to spare my brother there who presented. He is from Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs. I am an ex-head of procurement, the same ministry but in Uganda. So I want him. I didn't want him spared. I'm not in active service like him, civilian pure. My question is just related to what has been discussed. I'm sorry, Chair, that you have made a ruling. But he mentioned verbally, because they did present their case, isn't it? But he mentioned that there is a lot of business that member states, country providers are getting from South Sudan, and particularly the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs. I just wanted to relate it to this discussion to find out whether they are getting through competition or you are reserving business because they are member states. I just want that clarification from you because you put it very positive and I liked it.
Now, I think when we came to Juba in 2005, we became East African Community by default. What do I mean? All our services will come from Kenya, from Uganda, our source was from Mombasa. So by that, we find that Kenyan and Ugandan companies dominate the market, which was not actually bad. On the issues of the methodology, how do they get the contracts? Normally there is limited open tender here because of budget irregularities. They have budgetary issue. So you find that our acquisition is a need-based procurement, or which majority of the acquisition are single source because of circumstances that the country is in. So normally they either come through single source, either I have a partner from Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, etc. Then now I apply for a job, I get the contract, and it's performed. For which majority of the repatriation goes to our member countries. So it's not a bad thing. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Sirindi. I'm the chairperson for Kenya Institute of Supplies Management. That's a professional body for procurement and supply chain in Kenya. Now, just to contribute to the debate on local content and borrowing from what the Minister for Finance spoke this morning about a lot of imports that are not guided by procurement principles. I just want to comment what Kenya is also doing around that. In addition to citizen and local contractors, in Kenya we call them citizen contractors and local contractors. Citizen is when the farm is owned by Kenyans, and local it has similar to what Tanzania is doing. Now, the other area that Kenya has come up with is what you call Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, BKB, which can also maybe now be Buy East Africa, Build East Africa. And in the Kenyan public procurement law, every public entity is required to reserve 40% of their purchases from goods that are produced, mined and assembled or manufactured in Kenya. So that then you build job opportunities in other areas and supply chain. That's something I just felt I did contribute. Thank you.
Thank you. And in March, I met with some colleagues, kissing colleagues in Botswana, Gaborone. Was it Gaborone? No. In Zambia, Livingstone, Zambia. Among the things I argued him when he went to present, I argued him to declare that our institution played a great role to nurture kissing to be where it is. Though it is worth a saying, we nurtured you, but you are going to speed than your parents. Okay? Another. And during political rallies, during political campaigns, our leaders do promise a lot. And the implementation of those promises are done through procurement. So that means if you mess up with procurement, you are not only depriving us of obtaining those services, but also you are endangering the political position of those who promised. I get your point. So we need also to take it very carefully. Okay? Let us now talk about anybody. Oh, no, there is.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président de la session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Je suis Jean-Claude Louis-Man, le directeur général de l'autorité de régulation des marchés publics au Burundi.
He is the Director General for procurement in Burundi.
Juste pour mentionner que le français est également une langue de la communauté.
It is only to mention that French language is one of the languages in the East African community.
Quand bien la République démocratique du Congo n'est pas présent aux assises, qui exige souvent la traduction.
As the Democratic Republic of Congo is not present, that's why also they ask that so that we can have translation.
Pour dire que nous, au niveau du Burundi, on a eu la chance, comme on est en train de développer le système électronique des marchés.
In Burundi, we are developing also the electronic public market.
On a été obligé de revisiter le code des marchés publics et nous allons inclure toutes les résolutions où nous allons mettre en œuvre au niveau du code toutes les résolutions du 16e forum.
We have included
Yes, go ahead. In Burundi, we are implementing the Public Procurement Code through the revision of Public Procurement Act.
Je disais qu'on a eu la chance d'intégrer toutes les recommandations du 16e forum.
We have got a chance to integrate all the recommendations of the 16th Public Procurement Forum.
Donc, comme nous venons en dernier lieu, nous avons la chance de faire mieux que les autres.
As we are the last, we have got a chance to improve better than other countries, as we have learned from the neighbors.
Quand même, demain, je vais livrer ma présentation en anglais, comme il y a beaucoup de monde ici.
Even though I will be presenting in English, as many participants are English speakers.
Juste, j'ai voulu que mes camarades francophones ne soient pas gênés pour parler dans toutes les langues.
I just want my comrades, French-speaking countries, to not be ashamed when they are speaking French.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président de la session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. Jean, Monsieur Jean, et mon frère, Jean-Baptiste. Je comprends? Oh, merci beaucoup. Okay, thank you for taking back us to the French classes. I went through them during my elementary secondary school, but I was not serious. And during those years as a young boy, I thought that this language, which for? Then immediately after completion of my secondary school, there erupted some misunderstanding and conflicts along our neighbors. So there were so many refugee camps in Kigoma and Kagera. So the best place to secure a job was in the refugee camps. And for those who knew French, were given preference. Oh my God. I was nearly crying. Why did they hire no white? So don't ignore these issues related to languages. They are very, very important. Okay, so anything on the institutionalization of East African Public Procurement Forum within East Africa Community Secretariat. He said some countries have already initiated contacting their respective ministries. On that,
my name is Cesar Rico. I am the head of a specialized committee in South Sudan National Chamber of Commerce. And my activities always do with trade sectors. And in sectors, procurement is one of the important pillars. And actually, before I go ahead, I just want to say that all the protocol observed, and I welcome all the guests from EAC to South Sudan. It is part of their home too. Actually, I have two issues. The first is regarding the local context, especially the structure of the board. The composition is not clear to me. Is it a practice all over or in South Sudan? Because we don't see members from the private sector in the board of PPDA. This is one thing. The second is also I want to refer to the business done along the procurement practice in South Sudan. Does procurement start with requisition and end with payment to the suppliers, or just the requisitions and delivery of the goods to the person who requests? Because sometimes you can find somebody supplied and not paid. Thank you.
But on the issue of membership, I don't know. Do we have people who are in the private sector at PPRI?
Yes.
Oh, we have them? Yeah. Wow, that's good. Yes, please.
Of the Public Procurement Disposal of Assets Authority. Just quickly to get that, the law required that the private sector would be considered. So some members are from there. Myself, I am from the Association of South Sudan Contractors, and I am a board member. So that means the private sector is considered.
Okay, thank you. I think that is just a miscommunication, so I think people are there. Where on earth do you think that company cannot compete? It can compete anywhere. He demonstrated capacity in terms of human capital, equipment, the vision they have. They can compete anywhere. So, apart from protecting them, given that we need also our people to get better services, we should not shy away of agreeing the challenges of capacity we have. If capacity is there, my dear, no one will entertain seeing a very simple job being done by a person outside. Is that right? Yes. But if the capacity is not there, people should be calm to implement so that the common people can get the better services from their government. Sava, is that true? Okay, thank you. Let us jump to institutionalization of EAPF. I think this person has something to add. This will not be very long. I hope so. That's my...
Again, Benson from Uganda. Institutionalization of the East African Procurement Forum, I think, has become a song, a daily song. And I wanted Dr. Mulinga to hear this because he's our elder.
Yes, please proceed.
I was seeking Dr. Mulinga's eye because he's our senior on this in this forum. The East African Procurement Forum institutionalization is not taking shape. And every forum we talk about it. And as you heard the status, most people have approached the ministries, the parent ministries. Even in Uganda, we wrote to the East African minister. Even at one time when we had the East African Procurement Forum in 2023, we invited her, she was our guest of honor, but it is not taking shape. I want to propose that Tanzania, since the head office is in Arusha, you take lead. We pick the delegation representing us, and we go and approach. At one time we were in Kigali, we had the Secretary General that time, and he promised to take it up. That was, I think, 2022. But it is not taking place, and we can't sustain it without having it as an institution within the East African community. So I submission.
Thank you, Besson. I think seriousness on this matter should be needed. We please put it very well, jot it down, because as you have put it very right, the HQ, the headquarters are in Tanzania, so it is much easier to take a lead. We invite, we can set a date. We invite 2 or 3 representatives from different member states. We seek for an appointment, and we can help. Okay, I think that can be done. Please, Dr.
Chairman, for giving me the opportunity. My name is Ramadan Mulinga. I'm the technical advisor of Procurement in South Sudan. But I happen to be the founders of the East African Procurement Forums. The first one was held 2008. I was the CEO of PPRA Tanzania by then. I think what Benson has just said is a very important observation. And I think all along there has never been a delegation of CEOs, let's say, going to visit the East African headquarters. It has been, there's not been serious effort, to me I can say that. So maybe this is high time that it's not about one member country doing something, but the delegation of CEOs, even the chairpersons of the regulatory authorities going to visit leadership of the East African Procurement Community and having an agenda for discussion. Of course, Tanzania being, the headquarters being in Tanzania, Tanzania can take the lead to organize such a meeting.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Polika Bulul from PPRA Kenya. And on the institutionalization of the forum in the Secretariat, we had made a recommendation that as the delegation goes, we also need to have develop a framework or a memorandum which we will submit to the Secretariat, providing a justification why they need to host this very important forum. Then from there we can see the progress, because we have been with the engagement of our ministry and they had already submitted this information to the Council of Ministers in their last meeting. So there will be need now to, as the heads, the CEOs of the regulatory authorities to now approach it with a joint memorandum, also with the support of our ministries for EAC. With that line, thank you.
Thank you for your regulatory authorities to come together and agree how to form that memorandum, what should be included before. Of course, you cannot go there barehanded. You must have something to as a discussion instrument.
On institutionalization. When we were in Arusha, my ED Benson, what he has presented was still presented. And I remember that time still, we are Task Republic of Tanzania before we were, and we have done the same. And I want to tap into my sister's submission that when we go back, we tend to forget about some of these issues. Now, I would want us to factorize on the current status of the East African community. The current Secretary General is from the Republic of Tanzania. The chairmanship is held by Uganda. Now, there is no any resolution that is going to be passed in EAC when it does not go through those relevant committees, whether you like it or not. And at the end of the day, it will be approved by the Council of Ministers and taken to the summit, which is headed by the Presidency. Now, I want whatever we do must be intentional. You cannot say that, for example, that we want to institutionalize this when whatever we're doing is not tapping into the pillars of the East African community. We have two pillars which are active now, the customs union and the common market. And the one which they are developing is the common currency. Now, whatever we're doing, we're talking of documentation and whatnot, it must be in that direction. For example, if you go and tell them that as the regulatory bodies in the region, we are coming up with policies which are not only looking at local, okay, and people are putting it that we must protect our local providers, which is very true. You must protect them. But put a layer for them, put also a layer for an East African provider, so that I don't compete with somebody from Italy when I'm coming to bid in South Sudan. I should be given a reservation as a Ugandan because I'm within the East African community. I shouldn't be treated as a foreigner. When you package that and you say we are moving in that direction, then they will be in position to see that you're tapping in that period of common what? The common market. You defend yourselves. At the end of the day, they have a reason why they should give it a budget. So that if it is being presented in the finance committee of EAC community, they should have a reason why they should apportion money as far as that activity is concerned. But if you are going to remain in silos, the way we operate, we are protecting our own people within South Sudan and Tanzania and Uganda and Kenya and Burundi, we are not moving anywhere. I submit here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Concluded is that this agenda is not moving simply because it is lacking seriousness of our own. We are not serious to push it because leaders are there. They have never closed their doors. What lacks is seriousness to push the agenda. So should all of us agree that the Juba summit comes out with a common agreement on increasing the efforts towards implementation of the agenda. It is very simple. I don't see, because by the way, it is just a request. We submit the proposal. It is just a proposal. We are not people to approve it. Is that right? But we are failing just to submit a proposal. I think we need to be, sorry, I'm rushing, I see. Time is rushing and I'm being pushed.
There is a hand. Yes.
MC.
I'm going to be brief. Last year in November, we were in Zimbabwe attending African Network, African Procurement Network. And the donors were pushing for institutionalization of that institution under African Union. And there were regional procurements under that institution too. So I'm a little bit getting confused whether this institution is not part of the African Procurement Network. And why is it not being institutionalized at the continental level? Because there were regional procurements under African Procurement Network. So that this one not submit to African Procurement Network. They are all membership-based institutions. So if we have this one institutionalized, African Procurement Network institutionalized, are we not going to institutionalize procurement institutions?
Please. Do you want to?
I'm trying to, maybe I'm not answering, but just put a statement on that. This is regional. That is continental. You see, you cannot talk of continental before you talk of regional. You need first to clean your house before you go with that Africanism. Yes. This Africanism is fake.
Him in Zimbabwe, and I'm one of the I think the oldest people in that forum, African Public Procurement Network, which started in 2019 in Togo. And that one is bringing all the 54 countries, 54 or more than that, together, discussing similar to what we are discussing in the East African Procurement Forum. Actually, they copied the East African Procurement Forum, which started in 2008. So institutionalizing that network is at African level. Even recently, the Southern Africans are asking how we are doing it. They want to have a similar thing like this one. Because we are in blocks. When you talk about the African Public Procurement Network, we are in blocks. We have the East African block, Southern block, Central block, and Western block. So I think it is right that we continue with what we were talking about, institutionalizing our community, because the legislations and the policies are different from when you go to SADC or whatever.
Arriving at a certain good point on what we are discussing here, the advantage of it is that we will have only one voice, East African voice. So when we go to the African networks and whatever, we will go as East Africa. Apart from, different from the current where individual countries are joining. Now, we are left us with some few resolutions. So now I'm allowing anybody with an issue in one of the remaining issues, which are on sustainable procurement, e-government procurement systems, e-waste supply chains. Yeah, definitely. The last one is the hosting, which is well done. Anybody with any issue on the remaining three? Before I hand over my chairmanship, yes, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and the members for the patience. I want to speak to sustainable public procurement and from a Ugandan perspective. I want to appreciate and acknowledge that the ED Uganda gave the update on how far we have gone. But I want to add that having seen that this sustainable public procurement is even a global agenda, we in Uganda, in the Ministry of Finance, established a secretariat to spearhead sustainable public procurement. We have an action plan and a strategy to implement sustainable public procurement. And we have, for now, earmarked about 13 products that we want to test our efforts on sustainable public procurement, so that we pilot them and we begin employing or evaluating the social, environmental, and other parameters of sustainable public procurement. That's what I wanted to submit to this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So in terms of sustainable public procurement for Kenya, in terms of the social pillar, we have made a lot of progress in promotion of local economic development. We have the reservations, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. We also have at least 30% which is reserved for the locals. We are also enforcing the issues of decent work. For example, enforcing the minimum wage. We are also having implementation of guidelines on human rights in public procurement to ensure that as procuring entities are implementing contracts, aspects pertaining to human rights are well enforced, payments are done on time, and other related. On the environmental end, we are currently doing a market readiness assessment. Actually, the work is currently ongoing to identify how our market is ready to provide the green products for purposes of purchasing. We are also working with the United Nations Environment Program to develop and implement a framework for green public works and green buildings, where the current technologies, if you look at our building code, which was launched in 2025, you'll find it has already provided for green building codes and innovations for purposes of mainstreaming sustainability in the construction sector. So we are doing quite a number of issues despite our framework having not been implemented. And also we have already reviewed our legal framework to provide for sustainability, more so the economic aspect of local, the life cycle costing, life cycle assessment and the like to be officially be introduced as those methods of determining economically viable bids. Otherwise, thank you.
In Tanzania, we have developed and started to implement ESG frameworks, environmental, social, and governance issues. So they are considered the issues of child labor, environmental friendly, etc. So if you have a record of employing children in risky jobs or whatever, a red flag is put on your company so that to protect issues related to this. So I think we are doing the same, probably in a different way, but in the same arena. We need to consider these things because nowadays they are very, very sensitive, not only in Africa, in East Africa, but also globally. Anybody to now automatically, because you are a lady now, it is not because it is not that I'm applying favoritism, which is forbidden in the procurement, but I'm just trying to abide to the global agenda. Please, yes.
Thank you for instilling gender in this forum. Now, in addition to what my colleague from Kenya, Honorable Polycarp, has talked about, we're also looking at the people in the sustainable conversation, and as the Institute of Professionals, we are reviewing and developing standards of practice so that all procurement professionals, whether in public sector or private sector, then have a standard code, standard practice, standard limits that are required to ensure that procurement is procuring in a sustainable manner. So I just felt there's that issue of the standards of practice for practitioners. When you look at other professions, like the accounting profession, they have the IFRS, international financial standards they follow. legal also has some international standards. So it's high time also for the professionals to have uniform standards, whether working for public or private. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Even in Tanzania, our board has already a draft of professional standards on the table, and they were submitted the March board of directors meeting for the first draft before they approve them to be submitted to the ministry along the way to the approval process and being gazetted. So it is like we are communicating. I told you that you are going very speedy ahead of your parents. So your honorables and dear colleagues, it was a great honor to be accorded this noble position as the chair of this session. I assure you that I have done my best to the best knowledge of my capacity. The weaknesses you observed, they were beyond my control, but my aim was to do the best of the best, because I wanted to impress also the appointing authority. Having said that, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
All right, thank you so much. The first conversation has gone very well. I believe we are moving on forward very well. Just to emphasize on one thing, though I'm not a procurement officer or anything to do with procurement, I deal with the gossiping, that is media. So I think if you start with the East African bloc first, and then go to the African Union thing later on, you will be the best team. So the best thing, organize yourself. Then later on, if the African Union called for anything, then you go as a bloc. So I hope our day has been very fantastic. You guys have been very wonderful. I would like to say now we will go for lunch, and then after our lunch, we will proceed to our residence areas so that we could be able to have preparation for tomorrow. Because tomorrow I think will be a very tense day, right? Because we will have a lot of deliberation, and we will have more inside discussions tomorrow. So I wish you guys a great late lunch, because it's already late.